inject your child with the mRNA technology, please. A viral gene is injected into your child's cells, which is irreversible. It makes toxic spike proteins, which can cause permanent damage to their brain and nervous system, their heart, blood vessels, producing blood clots, their reproductive organs. It changes their immune system, which is still developing. You cannot fix lesions in their brain. Heart inflammation causes scarring, which cannot be reversed. And this also genetically resets their immune system. We also don't know the full ramifications of reproductive issues for future generations. Dr. Malone suggests that we need 5 years of testing and research, as the harms and risks will be revealed with time.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Tony. I imagine that my voice at its natural volume will probably outweigh what this can do. Can anybody tell me up the back if you can't hear me? Anybody at all? Do I need this machine? Okay. Everybody, you can hear me well? Yeah. Congratulations for being here, everybody. This is a fantastic show out. We are on the front line of the vaccine economy rollout. Believe it, this is our town. There's a few people here, we think, not enough. This is a monstrous majority if you understand what's happening to the rest of our community. And I want you to all pat yourself on the back, because you have become the people you want to be. The people you need to change to become. I don't support the voting, right? The AEC threw me off the electoral roll 20 years ago over a menial issue. They are not a legitimate institution. And everybody also can know that the ATO is not a legitimate institution. The actual legitimacy of our government at the moment is a wake-up call for us all. We know what's happening with our children. We know what's happening to those of us that have jobs, careers, have worked our lives to have the life that we have, to have it taken from us. I'm here to put a bit of fire in your belly, because you all need to get out there and make a difference. You are today. It's fantastic that you're here. I spoke to this community 3 weeks ago, and there was 1/4 of you. And I said to that community, our numbers are going to swell. And here you are. It's 4 times as many. And in 4 weeks' time, if these bastards don't stop their shit, we're going to be twice as many again. The boys up the back. Children is the number one issue today. Don't be taken by the mainstream media's distraction. This poor guy Novak, I don't like tennis. It's the stupidest game I've ever imagined. I want you to know that I respect the world's #1 athlete to have his choice of what he does with his body to be the best that he can be in the whole damn world. So, please understand, Novak has been a distracted campaign to keep you guys yapping on and arguing with our friends that aren't here yet. Those people we call the vaccinated or the unvaccinated, they're us, it's all of us. We have you all here. Everybody's welcome.
Houses where we start studying together in small groups and learning the common law together, so that when we're approached by policemen we don't say the wrong thing. When they put a mandate on us, we say, that's not law, mate, I don't have to follow it. You're not going to bully me into taking a vaccination. You're not going to bully me into vaccinating my children, because I don't have to. No thank you, bye bye. They have used fear and intimidation through that television, pretending to be scientists, but we've got politicians and lawyers standing up as the chief health officers and ignoring the real scientists and the real doctors who are speaking out all over the world, and the real nurses, and they're pretending they know what's best for our health, which they don't. So what we're aiming to do here in Bendigo is everyone's welcome. sign up. Reese, are you there, Reese? Oh, there he is. Put your hand up. Reese has got the sign up form. So if you go over there with Reese and give him their phone number, your email address and your name, you'll get a newsletter. And we're going to try and do this together, guys. We're going to set up our small groups together. We're going to support one another, and we're going to learn together. Just one story from how they used to do it in India. England went over there, and they would put a coin in people's beer mugs. And when you drank that beer, there was a coin in the bottom of it. They said, now you've accepted the king's money, you are now going to have to fight with the king and be in his militia. And they would cuff you, put you on a boat and off you went. It's all trickery, and that's what they're doing to us now. So they made glass bottom beer mugs, didn't they? So they could check. We have to do the same things. We have to be on our guard. So let's do this together, guys. Go over to see Reese, get signed up, you'll get newsletters, and we'll start learning. Reese, put your hand up again.
I've been an activist in Bendigo for 18 years. For the first 16 years of my activism, I was alone. I had maybe 3 allies in town. I've been talking to you all, trying to wake you up to the realities of environmental controls that are beyond your understanding and observation. I'm not going to go into my activism, but that is the cause of me being an activist. Fair enough. To come and address you all, as I am today, to stand up for my children, to stand up for your children, to stand up for my health, your health, and the health of every other person here. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be getting credit for saying the obvious. You all know this stuff, right? What we're not doing that we need to do is to take our signs, put them out there. We need to have visuals everywhere of our point of view, and we need to be coercing, that's right, coercing the vaccinated community to come and reclaim their free choice, their freedom to not be discriminating. They have made a choice, all right, and the only choice that they've made is to discriminate. Yeah. Yep. And that there is a tragedy, because everybody here knows for the last 40 years that's illegal. This is my sign. This is what I've run around with, because that's the truth. And everybody that thinks that this is irrelevant, they're not with us. I believe everybody here knows that's true. Yep. Is there anybody want to contend that? Does anyone want to tell me it's okay to isolate a minority, and target them? Because that's what we've got. Our government has actually shown you this week how willing they are to target and hostile attack an individual, and this Novak guy is it. The only example that he shows to us is our government is a rotten pack. Just a rotten pack of bastards, and they don't care about us. Please take something back. Please take forward. I was a school teacher for 7 years, as you can see. That's my position. I work with people who aren't going to go and teach the kids that discrimination is legal. That's what's happened to people in schools. They might go, oh, yeah, no, I know discrimination is illegal, but I need my job. Well, I've lost my job, and so have many of the people here, and we've pretty much walked away. We could have complied, we could have taken their drugs, but we chose not to. We took the high ground. Now we're put out of work. We're waiting for the rest of the community to be as offended as we have been. We actually had to take a stand and say, no damn way. My life, my country, my family, my health. No doctor has sovereign power over my body. I am it. But you're not going to take responsibility for sovereign power over your own body. Yeah, you're going to die of something really horrible you didn't expect because you're not looking after yourself.
For us, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Wurrung people. And yeah, so my name's Michael. I'm a structural engineer in Australia, but also a passionate freedom fighter. I do a lot with the Melbourne protesting, and I really want to build a stronghold here in Bendigo as well. I think that just looking at what we've done in 1 month, we were in the town centre, we had about 100 people here. On the other side there, and it's 100, I think it's about 150. They're always like. And so, yeah, you can see the other world going, which is fantastic. Today we're about our kids, the future of Australia. And we as an engineer, sometimes you build a building, and you also have to look at a building and understand how it was built. And the same thing applies then to society. We have to look at how things were built and look at the past. And when I look at what any game is, we've either got two options. We can say, stop these mandates, not comply, head on with our life and look at the virus, or we can comply with what I call a social credit score system. And China is a perfect example of what I do. I've been to China 3 times, speaking to the Chinese about the people of the culture, but unfortunately the people in China, they're dealing with what competition is today throughout generation. The next, it's not just workers now, but their kids and their kids, 8 generations from now. And so, who here knows what a social credit score system is?
Yep.
And any buzzwords of what it actually means.
One word, control.
So not good.
One word, control.
Exactly, control, communism. It's about controlling people, oppressing their opposition, minor parties like UAP, A1, One Nation that's also here. It's about One Nation. It's about not letting them have a go and have a free, democratic society where we actually have a debate. It's all right to have a debate and be a victim, but sometimes the truth needs to prevail. And people right now are being ignorant and not understand the truth of what the vaccines are doing. So you can either build a building for the social credit score system and go with the flow, with what's happening around here, or you can do 3 things in my opinion. Now, Bendigo has a common law group that's starting up. One person over really is John here today, Anthony's here. If we can learn common law, I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's a way to understand the Australian Constitution and to also understand your own freedom and rights as a human. That's one way. The second way is to rebuild a community, and that's what we're already doing here today. As I said at the start of this speech, we grew from 5 people for A1 to 50 people in 2 months. United Australia Party and One Nation are only just getting started. The RDA has been here for a very long time, and they've got about 400 people on Telegram group. What we see today is people actually coming out, feeling comfortable to come out and have it exposed to the public, to the red college that might pass us today. Because we're standing up for something that's right, not wrong. I just want to also end it on that note about supporting the candidates. We've had a Labor and a Liberal stronghold for too long. It's like that saying, if you continue to repeat, do the same thing, repeat it, you're just going to get the same bottom result. Let's have a few for all elected. We have a real chance to fight for our country, both for federal and state levels. Thanks everyone.
16 years ago, I got sick and I had cancer and they did not diagnose me. I begged them. I went back. 6 months they left me to die. 45 kilos, emaciated, tall guy, left for dead. They told me go home and just sort out your house. The reason I'm telling you this is our system is broken. Our medical system is screwed. They will turn away people who are sick and dying on a principle of policy. And people come before policy. We are the common people, we are the common crown, we are the commonwealth. Yep. These people are running a different show altogether. I spoke the other night briefly at the A1 meeting in town, and I explained to everyone what the Velvet Revolution is. Can someone show your hands? Who knows what that Velvet Revolution is? Fantastic. You need to be talking, guys, girls. You need to be explaining this. You need to be learning. It's pretty simple, really. They overthrew our constitution in 1974, and we haven't had it back since, right? Everything that has come since then has been a product of a corporated government which has no interest in the Commonwealth. If anything, they're going to be taking back power from the Commonwealth, which is us. We are the crown of Australia, okay? Queen's gone. They created a phantom queen. That rubber stamp pretty much makes all our laws on the whim of the politicians. That's not good enough. The Governor-General is appointed by the politicians. How can you expect any objectivity in making assessment of the judgments that are made in Parliament? You can't. So, my proposition, then there's lots of ideas going around, but we need to come up with a crown of our own sovereign entities to make rules, to give the sovereign assent to decisions made in the Parliament that up till now we have genocidal maniacs playing it. Seriously, Rob. I'm going to come back and talk again in a few moments. I've stepped in now just to fire you up because you all need to get angry. You need to be mad about this. 5 children's been reported dropped dead almost instantly this week from their vaccine. Before I do move on, there's one thing I want to say to you all about vaccine. Okay, vaccine's fine. You get one, you're covered for life. It creates an antibody reaction in your body. Your body creates antibodies against the bug they give you for the rest of your life. Okay, what they're giving you now wears off in 4 months. It's a drug. It's a drug, people. If it was a legitimate immunoresponse in your body, you would be right for it. You would never catch it again. But no, this is a lot of malfeasance. This is a lot of evil going on. They're not being honest and they're not talking to you about what it is that they're pushing on our other people. If you've been given this stuff, you need a detox. It's not a regular vaccine. You know, if it wears off, it's actually just pumping you up with a drug. When it wears off, they give you more. It wears off. And if you all look at the data, you see the things of failure anyway. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. I've yelled a bit too loud already. But yeah, thank you everybody. My name's Tony. If you want to
I was terminated for not taking the mandatory jab. Ironically, on the 11th of the 11th, around the 11th hour, our Remembrance Day for Freedom. The coercion and blackmail I was forced with to lose my job if I wasn't jabbed was heartbreaking, to say the least, and a nursing career I had worked so hard for decades. My intuition was telling me that this so-called vaccine was a dangerous, toxic cocktail. Forced vaccinations goes against our human rights and many codes of ethics like the Nuremberg Code. To inject an experimental drug into my body, I could not give informed consent. Long-term studies were not available as we are the vaccine research, and I did not wish to partake in the biggest global experiment. As you can imagine, being a mum and a paediatric nurse, the thought of jabbing these beautiful little humans with an experimental gene therapy makes me feel physically sick. To trust the experts from Big Pharma and their tweaking of data to say the vaccine is safe and effective just blows my mind. Let's look at the man the man himself, Dr. Robert Malone, who invented the mRNA technology, to advise us that it has harmful effects and causes more illness than it prevents in children, as they do not represent any danger of getting sick. Just to know how rare the myocarditis is, in my 25 years career, I have seen myocarditis in 2 patients in 25 years. That is rare. Now we see it day after day. Before you inject your child with the mRNA technology, please understand. A viral gene is injected into your child's cells, which is irreversible. It makes toxic spike proteins, which can cause permanent damage to their brain and nervous system, their heart, blood vessels, producing blood clots, their reproductive organs. It changes their immune system, which is still developing. You cannot fix lesions in their brains. Heart inflammation causes scarring the full ramifications of reproductive issues for future generations. Dr. Malone suggests that we need 5 years of testing and research, as the harms and risks will be revealed with time. I think we're going to see those short term very soon. It's the most radical treatment of experiment ever undertaken. The risk-benefit analysis is not even close. We must resist and fight to protect our children.
I've got a loud voice, I know that. Anyway, yeah, so I guess I'm not anti-vax. I've had yellow fever and Hep A vaccines in the past, but I'm anti-mandate, and I didn't want this one. So the reason I didn't want this one was I had done my own research, and based on a study from the UK, I've had chronic fatigue in the past 6 months, lymphoid, like violent glands, low white blood cells, monitored for lymphoma. So based on my research and a study from the UK, it actually said I had a 27% chance of a severe side effect from Pfizer. And the severe, they said the definition was 3 to 4 weeks of being ill. 34% with Moderna, and with AstraZeneca they said higher, but the data set was not high enough to actually come up with a figure. So that's why I was reluctant and hesitant. So I thought my symptoms would be, I would feel like I had chronic fatigue again and my white blood cells would crash. So anyway, so on the 23rd of November I gave in. To keep a job that I had working in the dairy industry, I actually had to get vaccinated. So I was working with farmers. So I went in the morning of the 23rd thinking, okay, I've probably got 24 hours before I feel sick. So I left home that morning. I thought I'll come home this afternoon to feed livestock and turn off my irrigation. So I went in thinking, yep, I'm going to be fine today. Vaccine 10:25, I went to a drive-through clinic and purchased it. And I literally had just parked my car, wound down the window, and I thought, I'm going to black out here. So by 10:30, that's how I was feeling. I turned off the ignition, honked the horn, and dropped my seat straight back in the car. So they came over to me. My blood pressure at that point was 160. And I'm going, no way, my blood pressure is never high. I'm like 110. So at that point, they went to get another machine that's more accurate, test my blood pressure, and I'm just going, I just need to lay down. I was going to crawl into the back seat of my car. So they then moved me onto a bed that was in their outdoor area that like they had there for people if they ever had any blood pressure. So anyway, so I'm laying on the bed, 2 doctors standing back watching, and they're going, oh, wonder what will happen when she has the next one. And I'm going, I'm not having the next one. And they're going, well, we'll see about that. So anyway, so I'm just lying there. They got me into a wheelchair to take me to the toilet. I realised at that point I actually couldn't stand. My arm started shaking not long after that, and I'm laying on the bed and I'm going, I can't go home. So they rang the ambulance. So that was trip number 1 into Shepparton. At that point they did full bloods, chest x-ray, and put me on the ECG. The ambulance did the ECG initially, and they said there's probably something here that's not quite right. So they took me in. Anyway, my bloods on day 1, I've got a science background, so this is how I know some of this stuff too. My white cell count was 6.5, which is a very strong immune system. I was like and all my white cell components, the white cell count, my the basophils, there's the lymphocytes, neutrophils, and there was another one there. They were all very strong. By day 4, they'd all crashed to the bottom range of normal, which is what I thought would happen. And I've got the blood test there to prove what happened to my blood. So day 1, hospital, chest pain started, and then I had sharp like pain going in from here. It did go through to my shoulder, which I kind of thought at the time, maybe I've just, I was on the chainsaw last week doing stuff on the farm, maybe I just hurt myself. Didn't think anything of it. I was fit and active. Anyway, they ended up discharging me from hospital later on that day. Girlfriend that's here, she was my chauffeur for the next 10 days because I couldn't drive. The next morning I was feeding livestock, doing all the things that I was going to do the day before, and I rang the ambulance. I felt like I was going to collapse in the paddock. I abandoned my tractor just there. The ambulance picked me up. They talked me into going back into hospital. I think it was that trip, I don't know, they all blur in together, but it was chest pain. The ambo said, look, in women, heart attack symptoms can actually present themselves in a slightly different area than men. So they wanted to take me in. So I gave in. They went in, more blood tests, ECG, couldn't find anything. Anyway, I was sent home again. I went in again, I think it was a couple of days later, and same symptoms. In the interim, I had another ambulance come and check me out one night, and my heart just kept racing. And it was actually worse when I laid down. So yeah, they said, no, everything seemed okay. Anyway, the next trip, I ended up in the ambulance again, and the female ambo talked me into going in. She argued with me because I was not going to go. I've had enough, and she argued with me to the point that I was crying, and she just said, no, I'm taking you in. And she assured me that she would not abandon me in the hospital like it had the day before, where they literally dragged me up in the ambulance, put me in a wheelchair when I got to the Shepparton Base Hospital, and then parked me out in the waiting room for the next 5 hours. And I was just left there. And when I told her what happened, she said, no way, that does not happen with chest pain. And I'm going, well, it happened to me. So anyway, she promised me that she wouldn't do that and let me be treated like that, and she kept her word. And it was actually interesting in the ambulance on the way in, because the doctors have talked pericarditis to me because I had all the symptoms, but they said, oh, but it only happens in men. And it's very hard to diagnose, so they left it at that. Anyway, the female ambo person said to me, we were talking, she goes, no, that's wrong. She goes, it happens in women too, in our age group. But yeah, majority are men, but it also happens in women. And she said there's research out there to show, to state that and to prove that. But anyway, so yeah, once again in hospital, they hooked me up, didn't find anything. About 3 o'clock in the morning, they wanted to discharge me, and I'm going, I live out of town, I live by myself, and I was not going to ring my girlfriend at 3 o'clock in the morning to go come and get me. So they moved me to the short stay ward. At that point, I was getting a headache, and I had an absolute shocker of a headache 2 or 3 days before, and I don't get headaches normally. I don't take Panadol. Anyway, I was in the short stay ward. They gave me endone before they moved me there at 3:30 in the morning. My headache kept getting worse. By 5:30 in the morning, I got up to go and see the nurse to say I need something, and I stood up and the headache just went whoosh. I just went back to bed, and anyway, they came to me and I just said I need something. My head is just throbbing, and you gave me endone 2 hours ago and it's done nothing. My headache just kept worse. Anyway, they wanted to give me more endone, and I'm going, no, well, you've given me endone and my headache got worse. What else can I have? Because I can't have Nurofen now. I have had a reaction to that. The headache I had 2 days before, I had an adverse reaction to Nurofen, and a retired pharmacist friend said to me, put that on your do not take list. Anyway, so they came up to me, and this young doctor came up to me and he said to me, we're going to discharge you now. You're refusing treatment, and that's it, we need you bed. So they were going to turf me out, and at that point I basically put out my hand and said, I don't give a stuff anymore, just give me whatever. Whatever they gave me did nothing, and no one came anywhere near me for another 4 hours. So anyway, so my experience in the hospital system's been pretty bad. There was one one doctor in one of my first visits there, and she actually looked me in the eye. First off, they tried to tell me my reaction was all due to anxiety, and I said, seriously? I was going to go home and feed livestock and turn off the irrigator. If I thought this was going to happen, I would have done that first. Anyway, so they accepted it wasn't anxiety, and she actually looked me in the eye. She said to me, now you know what can happen with the vaccine, you need to tell people. And at that time, I guess I was kind of thinking, well, that's not helping me. I get it now as to why she said that. I guess her hands are tied. You know, she's got to be careful what she says. So she was probably being brave just saying that to me. The doctor who administered the vaccine to me has tried to tell me I'm a needle fainter. I'm probably the last person any of my friends would expect to faint from a needle. So anyway, so I'm not a needle fainter, and I'm been like a pincushion now for about 7 weeks, and I have not fainted with another needle. I've never fainted with a needle in all my life. So anyway, so all through that time it was just chest pain. It felt like someone was sitting on my chest, sharp pain in here, shortness of breath. At one stage, I think, like my legs started shaking a little bit as well, but it was just like a brief kind of thing when that happened. And then my heart would race quite often, and then my body would start jolting overnight. It would just be, I'd just wake up and my body would be jolting. It was just weird, and then my heart would be racing. So that went on for a number of weeks. And then Christmas Day, I woke up and my heart was racing, and it actually felt like I'd run a marathon. That's how tired I was at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, that happened again for the next 7 days or something. And then on the 3rd of January, I was up in New South Wales, because I'm allowed to work in New South Wales. So I went up there to do some other work, and I was staying with friends at Leeton. That morning I got up, and before Rosie could even say to me, how'd you sleep? She went, how'd your left eye's drooping? And when I woke up that morning, I actually thought I've had a stroke. I felt absolutely rotten. And Rosie, she picked it up straight away. My left eye was drooping. Anyway, I had to work that day because I had a drone operator coming and stuff happening and field days and everything. So did that. Probably hid everything. I wore sunglasses, you know, I hid everything from the people I was with, and the people I was with didn't really know me, so they didn't pick up on it. I got home that night and actually looked in the mirror and scared the crap out of me. I rang the nurse on call, and she told me I had to get to the hospital then, and I didn't want to go, so I lied to her and said, yeah, I'll make my own way there. Anyway, so I went to Echuca the next day to get checked out for stroke symptoms, and I've had a CT, nothing was found in that, and they wanted me to have an MRI again, which I haven't had. But actually the trip before, I'm sort of jumping around before, so the trip before, I forgot a few other symptoms that happened along the way. So it was, I think, trip 4 to hospital, I had spontaneous bruising. So I was sitting in Shepparton with a couple of girlfriends in a friendly cafe that would let me in, and girlfriend said to me, you've got a little bit of a black mark around your eyelid on my left eye. I'm like, oh, really? Anyway, so they went, oh, it's a little mark there. And once I got in my car, so I walked across the road, back into my car, and when I was driving off, I looked in the revision mirror and half my eyelid was black. I got a friend to take a photo of it back into Tura, and I sent it back to the girlfriends I was with over coffee or breakfast or whatever, and they just said, no, it was not like that when we were having coffee. So I got a black eye just walking across the road. I also had scratches, which I've got scratches on my legs all the time, and I'd been on the chainsaw just before the vaccine, so I had scratches, but they'd healed up, and then they re-bruised. So it was just weird. So when I got the bruise around the black eye, my eyesight went blurry, and then the doctor, so I had an MRI done to make sure there was nothing damage behind the eye. That was all clear. I've been to the optometrist, they can't find any explanation about my eye. I kept saying to the doctor, it's sore all around here and it doesn't feel right. Anyway, sort of nothing came out of that, and I had to pay for the MRI myself because it wasn't Medicare funded. And yeah, so that sort of, so my eye stayed sore, and then when I had that droopy face on the 3rd of January, it actually moved from around the eye all the way down to the chin. I'm still kind of numb and tingling on my left side of my face. Probably only a couple of really good close friends can pick up that there's any change in my face, but I can feel it. So yeah, I mean, you just look at it and you go, I've had chest pain, sharp pain there, shortness of breath, I've had spontaneous bruising, I've had blurred vision, I've had stroke-like symptoms, and I kind of think, well, where's this going to end? You know, what's the next thing? I don't know what's going to happen. There may not be anything else next. Last thing was I just felt really tired. So the chronic fatigue sort of hit me again, which is what I expected. My white cells are still really low. So I'd look at it and go, I'm actually more immune compromised now. Before I had a very strong immune system. Yeah, and you just go, where's it going to stop? So, and I never thought any of this would happen to me. So, well, I thought the chronic fatigue stuff would, but I never thought any of the other. I've never had heart issues in my whole life. I'm fit and active. I nearly dropped dead in the paddock on Monday fighting with an irrigator that was giving me the shits. But, yeah. So, anyway, I guess that's my story, and 8 weeks on, I still can't see a cardiologist. I can't see a neurologist until the 22nd of April. I don't qualify for an exemption, so I lost one of the jobs I had for 2.5 days a week. Thankfully, the other work I do, they're all happy to work with me. I can still work in New South Wales. I'm about to pick up other work I can do remotely from South Australia. They did want to send me overseas for work, which unfortunately I won't be able to do that. But so I'm lucky. But it's just, yeah, it's mandates are wrong, and to be terminated from a job just dropped like that because I said while I was still in hospital I'm not having the next one. So yeah, anyway.
And we follow a very strict pattern with our bullets. We highlight as a starting point with a question that TGA see that myocarditis is a rare and mild side effect. We just have to ask this question. And it counters what the rest of the country have been told, because we've been getting our information and processing that in a very rational way. The large parts of Australia don't process information in the same way we do. They first have to get it what they think is from a credible source in their mind. Where for us, the equivalent situation, this is somebody from a scientific background standing up in front of a camera and saying that this is the science. It just doesn't cut it for us. We live in the real world. We need justification for what they're presenting in order for us to make decisions around it. And it goes completely against what the TGA are saying, and it just goes to show how corrupt this institution is. And we know from other research that it receives between 90 and 96% of its funding from the companies that it's supposed to police. There's a real problem there that we need to highlight for people. But within that bulletin structure, we reference all our information. We go through a very strict process in reviewing that information, make sure we're legally sound in what we're saying, that we quote everything exactly. We don't go 85% when it's 84.9. We quote it exactly as we read it from the reference article. And then within the bulletin itself, there's automatic functions that we make it easy for people to share that information. So you press a button that says send to your elected representative, and it comes up with your email, whatever email system you have on your device. You put in your postcode, and then it populates your email with every politician associated with that postcode, every state premier, every health minister in the country, Greg Hunt, Scott. So that's an introduction to how we started the group. From there, we've taken it up a notch, because ultimately sending this information to politicians, we know that they're not really going to do anything. And reads the first page of the legal letter. The first thing they read is that we believe this information is now in your possession. If any of this happens in your school, we, and more importantly parents, can consider you negligent and personally liable. And the way we stage is really take advantage of these fantastic communities that we're creating. And I've just travelled for the past 2 weeks. I've driven around Victoria intentionally to meet as many groups across the state as I could, because this is where we really need to fight back. You know, protests in Melbourne are fantastic and they give us support, but where we need to grow is within our communities, and this is where we need to fight back. What we're going to be asking people to do is, when we send out a bulletin related to the Schools on Notice booklet, we'll also have a list of questions for the principal. And from that, we're going to be asking parents in your community groups to role play situations with your principal. We've spent the last 2 years getting these groups together. Now we have to actually use them. This isn't 2020. It's not 2021. We're now established and we're ready to fight back. So we have these.
Thank you, Cody. So, up next we've got Jen who's going to read a story for us from someone else. Some people feel like they can't tell their own story, so we will do it for them. If you feel like you would like to tell your story, come up and see us and we will add you to the list. So we've got Jen, and then after Jen we're going to have Liz come and tell her story. Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So this is a story from one person. His father-in-law had a heart attack after he ate AstraZeneca. Mother-in-law had a stroke, needs 24-hour care after AstraZeneca. Aunt was denied cancer surgery unless she gets the jab, which she did, AstraZeneca, so she could have surgery. Man in the late 30s, not able to wait there after his second Pfizer shot. Diagnosed with arthritis, often unable to work out why blood infection also keeps flaring up once antibiotics wants to stop. Who knows?
This is a smartphone, right? It was developed by Apple. Apple are a corporation, right? It's also run by a major corporation here who run the network here, Telstra. This phone is owned by a corporation who I am employed by at the moment. I've been told to temporarily stay aside from work because of this tyrannical dictate of mandate by a criminal in Spring Street who we all know as Dictator Dan. Right, correct?
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Now, back to the word corporation. Corporation, as you'll learn in your common law groups, is part of corpse, which is a dead entity. So a lot of us, as you'll learn through these groups, is we're living in a fiction. This world is pretty much, it's a lot of